Hey, Jeff.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Likewise.
So this is where all the magic happened, huh?
This is where it happened.
All right, remind me, who was your Cliburn contestant in 2022?
A Yunchan Lim.
So he knows this house pretty well then, yeah?
He knows the guest house and the west part of the house very well.
All right, well, you want to show me around?
Sure.
Great.
Happy to. Let's do the guest house first. That's where he hung out. I'm pretty certain that the Cliburn chose us to be his host family. A lot to do with our guest house because his mom was here the whole time, and we have 2 bedrooms. She slept in here on a futon. We wondered what she was doing all day while he was practicing, or when I'd take him to rehearsals and stuff like that. And after they left, I turned on Netflix, and you know how it recommends things for you? Mm-hmm. They were all K-dramas.
That his mom was watching, or that they were both watching?
His mom was watching. He didn't have time, and she was watching him on this television.
And so I take it he didn't have time for TV.
No.
What was he doing most of the time?
Practicing and sleeping.
You want to show us the practice room?
Yeah, I'll show you why. But we had no restriction on his practice time. He could practice 24/7.
Like, could you hear him from wherever you were?
No.
But did you know when he was practicing?
Oh yes.
Like what hours of day are we talking?
Most of the time he started around 1 p.m. and then he'd finish around 3 to 4 a.m.
These are in the days leading up to the competition?
Yeah, and during, depending on the schedule.
Right, if you had a couple days off between rounds.
Correct.
So we're talking 12
to 14.
To 14 hours with what kind of breaks did it seem like he was taking?
He would take little short break. He would take a little break around dinner time. I think he'd come over here and his mom would make him dinner, but it was maybe an hour or less.
But then straight back to the piano.
Correct. Rosemary and I really had no idea how great of a pianist he is, because the way he practices in little short blocks. He would practice his phrases which he felt like needed to improve, and he would practice them over and over and over, record them on a cell phone, listen back, and then work on it again. I mean, I heard the little riff from Faux Filet, the kind of beginning, the mm-hmm. I heard that, I don't know, hundreds of times, literally.
Did you hear it developing, changing, or were you not that tuned in to the precise nuances?
Well, there were subtle differences in the way he would play it and speed and stuff like that. I couldn't tell which one he finally decided on. It wasn't, because he never played the whole thing, not a single time.
You never heard run-throughs of pieces?
He never played run-throughs. I never heard a run-through of anything.
Wow.
In the one really interesting thing, if you remember the preliminary round, he had a difficult Chopin piece and then a Mozart sonata. He practiced the Mozart sonata at least 80% of the time. And I asked him, I said, Yunchan, why do you practice the Mozart so much? He said, in his typical terse fashion, Mozart most difficult. So that was his. That was the way he and we heard him in the preliminaries, and we were like, wow, because that's the first time we actually heard him play pieces. That we realized we had something that he was very special.
I was imagining maybe he was running pieces for you guys, like, let me run my program for you before performance, but it was nothing like that.
Nothing like that at all. As a matter of fact, he really wanted to be alone while he worked. The first day when he was practicing Rosemary came in just to sit and listen, and she said, "Boy, I really got the feeling that he wanted to be alone," and so she quietly left, and that was the last time we were in this room while he was practicing. Typically, we would stay in the kitchen while he was practicing. Especially, I stayed up with him every night.
As late as he...
Except one night. I stayed up with him until 3 or 4 every night, around 12 to 1. I'd make him a little snack because he hadn't eaten anything since dinner. So
What'd you make, scrambled eggs or something?
No, the typical thing I made was an English muffin. I'd toast it, put some butter and French strawberry preserves. And he liked that. He ate that.
Tell me more about what you heard in the practicing, if you can remember. Just what kind of techniques were predominant, or that come to mind? Rhythms, or you said he would play short passages and listen back, but would he manipulate passages for practice purposes in different ways so that they were kind of unrecognizable, but they were helping him technically? Anything like that?
Yeah, sometimes he would alter the rhythm. Like, say if there was some scale that he was working on or some arpeggio, he would go like, instead of like straight through, he'd go da 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 da. And I asked him, I said, "Why do you do that?" He said, again in his terse fashion, "To make fingers equal."
Hey, it works. What do you remember from the Rachmaninoff preparation? I guess he would have known for a few days he was going to need to play that.
He especially liked practicing transitions when there's kind of one melodic idea going into a second, and he would practice those transitions a lot. I think to try to get them to make sense together, to be smooth. Certainly in the Mozart, a lot of doing those transitions, and the Rachmaninoff, similar. I remember I asked him once, what comes to mind when you're playing this particular part of the Rachmaninoff? He said, "I think of waterfalls."
12 to 14 hours of practice. How did you see him taking care of himself physically in any ways? Like, was he icing? Did he take enough breaks, like frequent short breaks? Or maybe that's when he was listening back to himself. Those were his breaks.
When he was listening back to himself, and we had one of these sofas like here, and sometimes I saw him sitting on the sofa with the music and looking at it and thinking about it or whatever. That was some of his breaks.
So his breaks were still practicing, just mentally practicing. He wouldn't just like go and take a nap for a while, or he always stayed.
I never saw him do that.
He always stayed close to the work.
Correct.
I don't know how. I don't know how you have that stamina, mentally, especially just the fatigue. Maybe it's being 18, but there's something different there, right? Just for in any field, but especially a mentally and physically exhausting and taxing one, like just to sustain that level of focus.
Yeah, I was, some nights I was just amazed. I'd be in the kitchen and just the practice would just go on for hour after hour after hour. And when I heard him kind of stop for a little bit, I might knock on the door and say, "Do you need anything? Do you need water?" And then he almost always said no, because we would have water for him. The one night I did not stay up with him was between the semifinal recital when he played the Transcendental Etudes and when he played the Mozart Concerto the next evening.
The very next evening, yeah.
The very next evening. So the Transcendental Etudes he played, but it was, I believe, it was 2 to 3 p.m. It was in Bass Hall. And I remember I asked him in the car when we were driving back, I said, "Well, how do you think it went?" And here again, we have a very terse answer. And he said, "I must listen." That's all he said. And he was, I'm sure you've seen the video. He was perspiring a lot, dripping on the keyboard and everything. And his clothes were just wet. So the time between end of the semifinals, Transcendental Etudes, he got home. We probably got home around I don't know, 3:34 or something, and he took a break. And I assume ate some dinner and came back about 7 p.m., maybe 6 or 7 p.m. He practiced all night. He told me, because I stayed up with him till 4, and I was exhausted. I just had to go to sleep. And so the next day I said, "Yunchan, when did you finish?" He said, "I finished at daybreak. I saw the sunrise." And then I believe he went back over to the guest house, and I think that's when he went to sleep. And he slept from, I don't know, 6 or 7 a.m. until kind of mid-afternoon. And then he came back here and he practiced some more. And then, I took him to the bass hall.
Mm-hmm. And that was the
Mozart concerto.
Yeah. Did you do laundry for him?
His mom did his laundry.
Mm-hmm. And she was not pushing him or anything. It was all out of his own volition to do this kind of work and this practice and this. It wasn't like a mom, at the piano, kind of directing traffic.
She was never in this practice room. I never saw her in here.
Mm-hmm.
And
self-motivation.
Incredible self-motivation.
Here, film me. I just want to try one thing.
Okay.